Hi, everybody. Welcome back to ECO El Paso's 13th annual conference for 2020. And we're focused on sustainability during a pandemic. And so this is a 2-week speaker series. And today we have Patrice Parsons, who is here today with Texas Solar Energy Society, nonprofit based out of Central Texas that ECO El Paso is actually part of. We're part of the West Texas brand new chapter for TXSES. So I just wanted to bring on Patrice to talk to you a little bit about today, about solar, about their organization, and we'll ask questions at the end. But Patrice, I'll pass it off to you, let you make your introduction, and we'll start sharing the presentation.
Okay, thanks.
All right. This going. All right.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Patrice Parsons. Everybody calls me Pete. And I am the current executive director of the Texas Solar Energy Society. We are a 501c3 nonprofit membership-based organization. We've been around since 1976. And we're part of the American Solar Energy Society, which is a national organization, and which is in turn a part of the International Solar Energy Society. We have 5 statewide chapters. Of course, ECO El Paso is our newest chapter, which we're just thrilled to have. And we also have Solar Austin. We have the Houston Renewable Energy Group, and we have the Build San Antonio Green Group. Our membership is made up of individuals as well as business members. And our primary goal is to, with our chapters, is to aid and promote state chapters through achieving their missions and visions and identifying grants and coordinating efforts between the chapters and sharing their best practices. So we can talk a little bit more about how the Texas Solar Energy Society interacts with ECO El Paso as well as homeowners, and at the end of my presentation and speak to why it's important for a chapter to become a member of the society. So like to talk a little bit about our current initiatives. We are working to expand community solar projects in the Texas Electric co-ops. And we're currently working on developing a new internship program where we're taking students from HBCUs and HSIs to take those students and place them within solar companies to allow them to get more exposure to solar industry, and hopefully it'll turn into long-term jobs for them. So if you want to start on slide 6 for me, Shelby, that would be great.
Sure.
Let's talk about this just a minute. I skipped this, sorry. Our policy committee, which we recently formed, and if you want to hit the bullet, that'd be great, Shelby. The first thing we're planning to work on is a net metering effort, where we've been hearing rumors out there that the co-ops are planning to tack on charges
Really?
that would actually de-incentivize homeowners from going solar, where they add line charges and other charges for power that they receive back from the homeowner. And we also, we're hearing rumors that there's going to be some conversation about increasing property taxes for homeowners that have solar on their homes, which of course would be another, disincentive. And as well as—
Is that because the law is going away? Because I know that was protected for a long time.
Well, we're talking about changing that. All of these will be talking about changing laws and rules. So it's a matter of how we would go in and help facilitate a different dialogue with decision makers. And then the last one is has to do with transparency. We really would like to see more transparency in bills that come out, you know, how they're collecting solar, what they're charging for solar, what they're, you know, how much solar they're collecting, just more transparency in their billing operation or their billing process. So that's something that we are interested in including as well in rules. So it's not clear to us yet exactly how we're going to participate in this. You know, our major role is education. So it would be working with different, the different business community members and organizing them to help us educate policy and decision makers to possibly make some wiser choices.
Yeah.
So we can talk a little bit more about all of this after I make this presentation. This presentation really is more about narrative. It's the way in which we talk about climate change and what we and the way we predict things are going to be changing. So all of my I would like to say that all of my information came from an article written by Saul Griffith called Rewiring America, and a report written by Adam Dorr and Tony Selba called Rethinking Energy 2020 through 2030. I highly recommend that you read them. They are very informative and very inspirational. I highly recommend that you check them out. Anyway, this particular quote, you know, is something that Saul Griffith quoted, and I happen to believe that it is it's doable, and I'd like to talk about that a minute. So, when you think about the run up to World War II, President Roosevelt, he enlisted the entire U.S. economy in an effort to scale up production of war material. And by the time the war was won, the economy was humming with a massive expanded workforce. In fact, it included women and people of color. We had a turbocharged productive capacity. Investments were made during the war mobilization, which yielded a robust middle class and decades of sustained, broadly shared prosperity. And if we're going to do this now, so to achieve this quote, it's going to require full resources of the U.S. economy that are bent towards manufacturing and needed clean energy technology infrastructure. It's doable, folks. It's, you know, we have to have the will, but it is doable. So next slide, please. And you can begin animating each of these bullets. Let me see which one you're on.
They're all showing.
They're all showing, okay. So I'm trying to read what this says. So you can see that what we need to do in order to pull this together is we need to electrify everything. We have, you know, all the efficiency we really need comes from choosing electrification. We have enough renewable resources to maintain our current lifestyle. All clean energy can be generated domestically in the United States. And massive electrification with turbines, solar, EVs, heat pumps, and much expanded electrical grid can get us there. So let's go to the next slide. You know, my take on this is no, it's not going to be more expensive. We have the cost of PV solar and batteries has declined 80% since 2010 and will continue to fall in the 2020s. There's going to be a lot of, you know, energy generated in local communities, which cuts down on transmission and distribution costs. You know, and the cheapest energy that we can use is the kind we'll generate from solar off our rooftops. I mean, that's how much cheaper can you get, you know. So let's move to the next slide.
Yeah, plus I think it's a lot easier to do utility scale storage and residential storage versus high capacity power lines that are expensive and require land and Yeah, it just makes so much more
Absolutely.
sense to electrify. Plus, it cuts peak load and reduces power plants or the need to
Absolutely.
even build one. So, yeah, which I only say that just because that's very big in El Paso, is that could really negate the need for all of these methane, natural gas type power plants.
Yep. So let's just go ahead, and you've already highlighted all of those. Okay, good. So if you look at automobiles, you know, you've got 10 cents for every kilowatt hour for electricity in an EV, which is 2 to 3 cents a mile. In a gasoline vehicle, you've got 2 to 3 gallons, which is 15 cents a mile for fuel costs, which means EVs will save 10 cents a mile. Plus, you have embodied energy in the production as well. You know, according to Volkswagen, it takes about 18,000 kilowatt hours to produce a Golf A3. And at the current average price of 12 cents a kilowatt hour, this is assuming electrification of all processing, it would cost nearly $2,100 in energy to build it.
Wow.
Reducing that cost to 1.3 cents a kilowatt hour with wind, solar, and batteries throughout the entire supply chain would save the company more than $1,900 on each vehicle, which of course could be passed on to the consumer. That's a $1,900 savings on each vehicle. So
Right.
next slide. So clean energy at a near zero marginal cost will enable new business models, including all of these listed here. You can see that we're talking about manufacturing solar panels, heating, waste processing, recycling, even manufacturing carbon removal. So it's possible. So next slide, please. It's estimated that the total number of near-term jobs is estimated to be 25 million new jobs in the next 5 years, and that is not a typo. Wow. These are skilled technicians, construction, manufacturing jobs. They look a lot like retrofitting jobs because we just can't build everything new. We can retrofit homes, churches, schools, commercial buildings. Plus, these jobs can't be outsourced. They'll happen in every zip code in the US. So that's a tremendous amount of employment, particularly if you're looking at what's happening with COVID right now. Okay, next slide.
Yeah, plus it keeps the circular economy and keeps the money in your city, which is even more important after
Absolutely.
the install.
Absolutely. So instead of asking how much will we pay for this, I think the better question is that what interest rate will we pay for it? You know, while it's true that decarbonization technologies have a higher upfront capital cost, they also have a low lifetime fuel and maintenance cost. I mean, think about it. We invented auto financing in the 20s. You know, the government created guaranteed mortgages in the 30s. And we had rural electrification during the New Deal. I mean, that's all happened. It all, you know, took expensive upfront costs and averaged the cost over the lifetime or 30 years of the life of the home. So it's possible. Next slide. So I'm not really going to say any notes on this. This is just this I think speaks for itself. It's will finance our transition to a zero carbon economy with low interest climate loans. So next slide. So if you think about the early 20s or the early 20th century, the transportation industry was horse-based, and people were really skeptical and dismissive of the automobile. There were no paved roads. The petroleum industry was in its infancy. There was no fueling stations. Manufacturing and supply chains were limited. You know, there weren't any rules of the road and nobody knew how to drive. And yet the automobile fully disrupted the transportation industry in less than 15 years. And also steam locomotives were wiped out by diesel engines. Celluloid film was overthrown by digital imaging. Streaming, you think about streaming, now you think about record and video rentals. And who knows what COVID's going to change forever. I mean, there will be some things that change. So next slide, please.
Yeah, this Zoom meeting, instead of us seeing you face to face this year, is one of those examples.
Absolutely. And think about how much we've reduced our carbon footprint by doing that. So, so if you look at, disruptive technologies and energy production, I mean, the coal collapse is well underway. And I believe that the natural gas and petroleum industry will follow, in the 2020s, mid 2020s. So the question is, to me, is will our lives really change radically? And I don't think the answer is, I think the answer is that it won't change a lot. I think we'll still have same size homes. Think about the EVs. They've got more torque, they're better engines, they're better car. You've got smart thermostats that help us save money and you experience more comfort in your home. I think we'll need and use, half the energy we currently use. I mean, I think what it's really going to look like to us is cleaner air, cleaner water, better health, cheaper energy, a more robust grid. So next slide, please. So I think that technologies either, I think it's been proven throughout history that technologies either adapt or they become irrelevant. Again, look at the automobile. So in Darwin's 1859 book, The Origin of the Species, he showed that those species that adapt best to their changing environment have the best chance of surviving, while those that don't adapt don't survive. So next slide, please. I love this quote. So I started with Roosevelt, I'm going to end with Roosevelt. I mean, and his quote is, when at the end of a great struggle, we shall have saved our free way of life and we shall have made no sacrifice. So I guess the point of what I'm trying to state is that I believe we need to change our narrative. For years as a grandmother, I had what I call pre-PTSD about the climate. I mean, I just felt, what kind of world am I leaving my grandchildren in? And, what's it all going to look like? And, it was a real doom and gloom kind of attitude about it. And till I started reading some of these more upbeat articles and reports. And today, I believe we can get there. I believe we can get there with, and it will be better. I don't think it's going to be worse. I know that we're going to have strong policy in order to make it happen. I think that we're going to have to really ramp up manufacturing. I mean, there's all kinds of things that have to happen. But I don't think that it's necessarily all about, giving things up. I mean, I personally have made changes in my behavior, and we don't necessarily have to list them here, as I'm sure most of you have. But I don't think that we necessarily have to have huge sacrifice in order to have quality of life. And Absolutely. That's the end of what I have to say. So let's talk about what everybody would like to talk about. I would particularly like to talk about how Eco El Paso is going to play an important role in what TXSES does, and hopefully what we do in reverse.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of what you said there at the end is really true. If anything, we're getting a better vehicle of the future that's cheaper, and honestly, they're really fast. I mean, you go to YouTube and look up Tesla drag racing, and you'll see a guy's, stock Tesla beat people drag racing all day long, every type of car. So whether you're in it for the fun or for the environmental savings or the financial savings, you kind of get them all no matter what. And to me, I think that's cool, right? Appliances in your home are getting better and smarter. You have your smart thermostat, right? You're on your way home from work, you can turn on the AC unit before you even get home. So if anything, I think it's going to help a better quality of life. I just hope that we can continue to drive costs down so it's affordable for all.
And I really think that's going to happen as manufacturing increases. I mean, that's just kind of the rule of thumb. So, I mean, again, look at what's happening in PV solar. The more it's produced, the more it's manufactured, the cheaper the cost. Yep. So I think it's going to continue to be true with most technologies.
And it's kind of like what the microchip processor went through, right? Every year, the processor would get half the price, half the size, and twice the power. And then you're sort of seeing that happening with solar, that, the price of solar panels, if anything, they're going down, or the price per watt is getting more affordable. You need less solar panels to produce the same amount of energy because they're higher quality. And then you see the same thing happening with the price and the quality of batteries. They were very expensive, but just like solar, and they're catching up. Solar's on the high rise, but I think batteries are right there behind it. They seem to be getting cheaper, bigger, better, faster every day, which is encouraging.
Which does nothing but benefit the homeowner. I mean, exactly. It almost becomes a question of why not.
Exactly. And in the end, every home, every business could be a little battery bank, a solar bank, and then in the end, they're even going to have the ability to tap into your electric vehicle's battery. Now they could tap into the whole grid and really smart manage the grid, which would really help us, right? I mean, I think we could do more battery storage and solar and negate the need for these, massive natural gas plants that they're planning and just approved. They're going to be adding another power plant here that went through PUC, got approved, and it's going to be a massive pollution extracting process in West Texas and Northwest Texas to get it all out of the Odessa region. And then they're going to try to pipeline it here and then reuse and pollute it here again. And then the worst part about it is take that money as the utility, which is now JP Morgan, which bought our utility, and now extract all that money and send it to New York. So it's not just coming in and dumping ground on us, but then they're literally extracting the wealth out of El Paso because we're not a municipally owned utility.
Right.
And so it makes it even more of a reason to do it, especially when El Paso has one of the poorest neighborhoods in the entire United States is in El Paso. And Barrio Chamizal, which was one of our speakers earlier today. And so, there's so much even more need, I think, in El Paso. And we're the Sun City, so we want to be able to capitalize on that too. Yeah, absolutely. And so what exactly are you doing with all the installers, right? So I think TXSES, has the ability to advocate for the consumer, the homeowner, the solar business owner. But we also want to sort of pull all the West Texas, maybe even the Southern New Mexico companies that do business in West Texas, which there are quite a few. We really want to pull them over to learn more about you and what you can do for them and how they can get involved, get on your newsletter, donate. What sort of services and offerings do you see that you're successful with in Central Texas that we can, sort of customize for El Paso in our region?
Yeah, well, one thing I'm thrilled about is that, instead of being, the IH-35 corridor and east, we are able to now move into West Texas. I mean, that's been a goal of mine since I started a year ago. And I'm just, as I've mentioned, I'm thrilled that you guys have planned to participate. One of the major advantages for businesses to join, TXSES as well as you guys, is to participate in this policy committee. So, issues that businesses find, as they come up that could potentially, create huge disincentive, it's going to be the plan of TXSES to take those issues on, coordinate business members, and have a kind of a unified approach to approaching decision makers as to why that's a bad idea or why those ideas don't work. But so far we've gone, and Charlie Himmelein's doing a great job with the association that represents the larger manufacturers and larger companies. There hasn't really been an organization besides TXSES that's been involved with smaller to mid-size installers and businesses. So it's really, in my opinion, our job to do what we can to help protect and inform and help advance the industry as it affects smaller and mid-sized companies. So, that's one way that we can definitely help companies in West Texas is to join in with the fight or join in with the conversation. We also, you do get exposure on our website. I would like to mention that our website is currently under construction. I plan to provide, business members a lot more love than I feel like they're getting right now on our website. It's going to change, but right now it's not bad. I mean, you get your logo, with a link on the business member page, as well as being able to rotate some of your projects on the front. We rotate photos around. So those are some things we do now, but it's the primary advantage to joining has to do with this new policy committee. I mean, there's where you can really get some bang for your buck.
Absolutely. Yeah. Plus, I think, all the marketing is great, which we all want. But it's really nice that whether you like it or not in Texas, if you don't have a voice in Central Texas that can get to Austin and reach political leaders. I like the fact that you can tap into the different regions and say, well, who are the leaders in your area of El Paso?
Absolutely.
Who does TXSES need to reach out to not just be another solar company, but to be more of an industry, consumer, business advocate? And then can also go back to Central Texas, where I think you're based out of, and then you can actually reach those in Austin that might need to hear about it when it really comes down to the hard legislation.
Yeah, but it would be my intention to have members, or have organizations and companies from your area to participate in the conversation. Absolutely. I won't be the one to go testify.
Sure,
it's not as effective as if I have a business.
You're able to connect the dots and
that are able to connect
the dots. The right people. It's sort of, you guys seem like, which you guys, we're part of you. TXSES seems more like it's great because you reach not only the business, but you also are protecting the consumer. And whether you're a homeowner for solar or a business owner who has solar, which I really like, right? It's a very holistic approach.
Yeah, well, if you protect the business and the business's mission, which is of course to get, the technology installed, you actually do protect the consumer.
Absolutely.
So they go hand in hand, and it also reduces the cost, which protects the consumer. So ultimately it's the consumer that wins, sure. As well as the business, I guess. But it's it's the intent that it's a win-win for everyone. So there will be instances where I do bring in some individual homeowners. That's also, I think, critical for them to hear from homeowners in different parts of the state. So it will be through your organization that you will help me identify potential individuals that might like to participate in the effort, especially when you're talking about reaching out locally.
Absolutely.
To some of your state reps. So that, to me, that's the main advantage. And again, just help promote each other. That's through social media, websites, events. That's also, I think, a big one.
Absolutely. And for those that do want to participate, Patrice isn't quite giving herself enough credit because they do have a great newsletter. They have events that they put on throughout the year, like solar home tours, and they tap into all the different resources. I know in San Antonio, they have Solar Fest, which we want to bring here. And I know you guys help connect the dots there, which is really great. But if you are watching this YouTube video down the road, please follow them on social media, Facebook, all the different sites. We really want you to learn more about that. And also, we will have a link on the ECO website soon, all about TXSES and our chapter, what we're doing out here and how you can get involved, which I think is really, really important. And I do know that we have a couple of people online, and since we are live with some listeners, I just wanted to ask if anyone that's on this video now did have any questions that you wanted to ask Patrice about Texas Solar Energy Society or ECO El Paso and what we're doing out here as a chapter. Just give you guys a second.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, I hope everyone's having a good day so far. I know you've been busy pretty much all day with the different lectures you've been providing. I'm pretty much new here in the community. I just recently retired from Fort Bliss.
Nice.
after
Congrats.
30 years of service. And now I'm starting to move into something new, this whole green movement. And I just, by happenstance, happened to read an article in the El Paso Inc. about the whole Eco El Paso sustainability. And as I know I'm a little long-winded right now, but I hope
take your time.
I hope it's okay. Okay, great. So yeah, personally, I'm really excited about the whole green movement. I wasn't so as much committed. I was just doing little things because I've lived in different cities throughout my military career. For example, in Washington State, they have a huge, green initiative up there, in terms of trying to balance, human activity with, how we move around in our communities and the environment. So I'm out here now, and it's been fascinating getting into this particular area, and the fact that El Paso has an opportunity to expand itself and really get ahead of other smaller or other communities trying to go green, which obviously there's initiatives, focused on 2030 to 2050 to be net zero and those type of things. So like I mentioned earlier, pretty excited. And what I really wanted to do is introduce myself to you, Shelby, to see how I could possibly volunteer. I am a lead AP.
Great.
I have some, like I mentioned earlier, some green familiarity, in terms of, applying some of those principles.
Awesome.
And
That's
I was
great.
just looking for some opportunities to kind of, continue to broaden that and definitely give back to the El Paso community in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, I really enjoy flying into El Paso. If anyone listening ever flies in here, you actually see a ton of solar on the military base. There are developers out here that own a lot of the homes and put solar on all the military homes that they rent out. And so it's really nice, large apartment complexes on the northeast side of El Paso that are near the military base. You see just tons of it. It's really kind of encouraging because I think one thing that people didn't know, and we're finally, ripping the data out of the powers that be, but, we probably have 15 to 20,000 homes out here already with solar in the territory, which is really encouraging. And so, yeah, we're an all volunteer nonprofit, right? So I've got my full-time gig, and this is where I put all my free time passion. But we want to get volunteers out, right? We want the solar companies, the sustainability companies that do windows and insulation and really can go in and green your home. Green building developers, we want green architects, right? So we cater to the architects and engineers, and usually this conference actually has continuing education credits that you can get for lead AP, CNU for architects and engineers. This year it's virtual, so we just decided to open it up. But I think this is why we did it, right? We want to bring in the community like yourself, whether you're new to El Paso or not. I've only been here for 7 years, so I still feel new. But I really just want to give back. And the nice thing is that, we do have a community of, electric vehicle owners and lots of Facebook groups for that, which we now run the Rio Grande Electric Auto Association. We formed that chapter. So we've got TXSES that's really advocating for solar and renewable and all those technologies and bringing the companies in. But then we've got other initiatives where like Million Trees El Paso, where we just want to plant native trees all over town, right? And take these yards that have just rocks all over the place and no trees and put in native trees that don't need a lot of water, right? But they bloom and they're beautiful and they shade the sidewalk so people are encouraged to walk, right? It's like all these like little things that when you think about it, there's so many things connected from electric vehicles to solar, all the way to maybe you getting a job at a solar company in the industry, right? You never know. Stranger things have happened. But yeah, we would love volunteers for all the different events we have. COVID sort of slowed down everything, so we moved virtual. So I think what we're doing now is just planning everything with TXSES, with our new Electric Vehicle Association chapter, and really just trying to develop it over time. So when things get back to whatever normal may be one day, is we can actually meet you out, have a tree planting event, plant 500 trees, or you know, put solar on a nonprofit and invite people out to come learn how to do it, right? And then maybe, like I said, Patrice is getting internships with solar companies potentially in the future that might happen out here, where, well, you know, like I said, whether you're a new grad high school kid or you're changing careers, maybe that's you, right? So yeah, we would love to have you join us, especially when we actually can do something face to face, which
Sure,
honestly,
sure.
God knows when that will be. Honestly, I don't know. Might be Q4 next year, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
I think we'll get there. Next year it looks promising. So
I hope so.
either way it goes.
I'm hopeful.
It's a
Yes,
new
sir.
year.
Well,
It'll be a new year.
absolutely.
Yeah, Shelby, I definitely want to add, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but
Yes,
can you
ma'am.
hear me, Shelby? Can you
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
me? I definitely, it is our intention to have all of the chapters participate in the internship program. That is it. That is the intention, to have it be a statewide initiative with us supporting the chapters by raising money in order to help you be successful and coordinated with the rest of the chapters. So that
Yeah, we're
is
looking forward to
definitely
that.
yeah, that's
Very
definitely a
much so.
statewide initiative.
And what's really cool about El Paso, and I hope someone corrects me on the internet one day if I'm wrong, but I think El Paso at Riverside High School, if you were there or you plan to send your kids to Riverside High School, they've got a really awesome teacher there. And they actually now are the only one that I know of, only high school where you can get the NABCEP certified education, which is the solar industry certification, right? There's like one and only. Other than being an electrician, you go get your NABCEP certifications for solar, and you can get it in solar photovoltaic installation, regular solar panels. You can get your NABCEP in solar thermal hot water heating, and you can get your NABCEP certification in PV technical sales. So you actually know how to survey, design, and sell a system from a sales perspective. So there's the hardcore technical side where you're turning wrenches and you really need to know your stuff. But there's also, like me, you know, I got my marketing degree and then an MBA, but I had to teach myself the electrical side so I could really know technical sales. So you really can have a wide variety of jobs. But here at El Paso, Riverside High School, you can get that education in your high school now. You can get certified. So by the time you graduate high school, you can come out. And if you're not going to go to college right away, you can immediately enter the workforce with a certification that most people in El Paso won't have.
Great.
Patrice, I'm definitely connecting you with that high school because I think they're the only one in North America, to be honest. I don't know of another high school that teaches you the NABCEP cert curriculum so you can get your certification while being, you know, 14, 15 years old all the way up to senior, which I thought was really, really cool.
That's very great.
So we have the workforce and we have it at the college level, but now we have it coming out of the high school level right into the solar industry, which has always been my goal, because not everyone's going to go to college, and I hope you do, but if you don't need to. You can get certifications and you don't need to go to college to be highly successful. And also don't worry about the money. The money is also there in the industry, which I really appreciate, is that it's not low wage, $8, $10, $12 an hour jobs. I mean, a lot of installers start at 15, 20 bucks an hour or more. If you're an electrician, you know, you can make six figures easily. So.
Yeah, that's what I was pointing out in my little presentation, is that, you know, out of the 25 million, you know, jobs that are estimated in the near term, they are skilled, you know, labor jobs. They're not necessarily, you know, go to college kind of jobs. They're
not low wage.
Learn a trade. They're learn a trade. Yeah, yes. They're learn a trade and be paid well.
And we need that in El Paso, especially because I think we are extremely unique because, you know, low wage city. You always hear, now that I live here, you always hear about brain drain. Everyone gets their degrees here and moves, or they leave to get their degree and they stay gone. My wife and her family did the exact opposite for the right reason, right? They want to get back to their community. And I think that that's what El Paso needs to attract these people to stay. Our great young minds need to have jobs to go into here that aren't $8, $10, $12 an hour, which is not a livable wage nowadays in 2020. And so I think it's even more important here to bring those jobs. Plus, honestly, the same solar panel in El Paso produces 15 or 20% more all year long than San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, or Houston. So this is a gold mine for solar, whether you're the utility, a business owner, or a homeowner. Plus, I'm really hoping we can build up this industry with you, Patrice and TXSES, because we have a workforce, right? Start with one high school and then we'll build to all of them. So
absolutely. Think big.
Absolutely. I usually do. I try. If there are any other questions, please sign up on all the social media for Texas Solar Energy Society. Sign up for their newsletter, their Facebook, social media, Twitter. I highly encourage you to stay in touch with them. We will have our chapter site up and running here in the next few days for Eco El Paso. If you're not following us, please go do the same for the newsletter and for social media. And this won't be the last time you hear from Patrice, because I'll invite her hopefully in person next year like we normally do. And it's funny that this happened to be our 13th annual during COVID, during crisis. It all just happened to make perfect sense. But thank you for joining us. Welcome to El Paso, Mr. Robinson, and congratulations on your retirement from the military. And I hope to see you face-to-face as well sometime soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Shelby.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.